All right. Welcome back, everyone. No, this is not a mirage. You do see a third screen, and yes, we're all wearing the same shirt for another episode of the podcast, formerly known as 100 Yards of Podcast. With me always is Marshall, and it's an honor. We have one of the highest ranking cadets in the Air Force Academy cadet wing, um, Greg Berry. I don't recall your rank because it's frankly too high for me to relate to. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
Well, the rank doesn't matter since it's all made up for cadets, right? Anyways, at ease, soldiers. Okay.
Hooah.
No. Yeah, met Omar in middle school and Marshall way back in the day at elementary. I'm a data analytics major out here at the Air Force Academy, and excited to talk some football and hear some hot takes from Omar.
Greg, just so you know, we're going to be speaking American football. Is that
Right,
okay by
right,
you? Okay.
Right. Not the real football. I got it.
Just making
No
sure.
Liverpool comments.
Just making sure.
That's a hot take. The real football, interesting. But Air Force makes you think of the Red Tails, or maybe it doesn't, because the Red Tails were a Army Air Corps unit. I just want to clear the air on that one. But last week, or maybe like a week and a half ago, ESPN Events, who is a conglomerate of the network, and they control about like 20 bowls, pretty wild. They created a new event for Labor Day weekend, the Red Tails Classic out in Montgomery, the Crampton Bowl, a stadium that I have a lot of strong feelings about that I'll talk about later on. And this year it'll have Tuskegee and Fort Valley State out of the SIAC, HBCU conference in Division II. And immediately what I thought was like, if they want to add some juice to this event, I mean, Tuskegee, Fort Valley State, great event, great matchup. But if they want to add some juice to the event, why not add the Air Force Academy, playing against the Alabama foe? And Greg, you're a soon to be old grad of the Air Force Academy. Would you want to take the family to a trip to Montgomery and view some of the more important sites in the Civil War and just like a historical city in its own right? I mean, do you think this is something that the Air Force fans would want to go to?
I mean, I think the grads would be all about that, especially the program not having many opportunities. Would our team do well and come away with the result that we'd want for that game? Probably not. I think grads would love to see the team and the academy be represented in all these new events. That'd be awesome.
Right. Just for clarification, are we theorizing that they're going to be playing a D2 opponent, or who are we talking about them playing?
So, I mean, so the press release said that Tuskegee would be playing the first 3 years of the event. So that game's going to be on a Sunday, I would assume, because a bunch of HBCU classics, or a couple of them, have found Sunday afternoon before Labor Day weekend as like a sweet spot. You got one in Canton that's broadcast on NFL Network. You have the Orange Blossom Classic this year that's debuting after a long hiatus. And you had the MEAC SWAC Challenge. MEAC SWAC Challenge in prior years. And now you have this one. But maybe like a double header of sorts, like, Monday afternoon leading up to like the big game. Have Air Force play in the afternoon against a regional team, whether it be a HBCU or maybe an area group of 5 team like UAB. I mean, UAB's won the Conference USA West 3 years in a row. And you have Air Force, a team that won 11 games in 2019, that has one of the bigger brands, maybe not just in the group of 5, but in the country, just because they're the Air Force Academy. I mean, get the Tabasco out, because that's a spicy matchup among other teams. I mean, Southern Miss as well. South Alabama. I'm sure Air Force fans are longing for a 2016 Arizona Bowl rematch. Actually, one of the only bowls to not be nationally televised since the 80s.
And you know what? That would be perfect too, because South Alabama, what are their initials? USA, baby. USA.
It's perfect. Yeah, I mean, and until Super Bowl, I forget what number it is, but everyone knows it, 28-3, Patriots, Falcons. The 2016 Arizona Bowl might have been the most notable blown lead in all football's postseason, as South Alabama blew a 21-3 first quarter lead, and Air Force scored 39 unanswered points on the American Sports Network in a game broadcasted or announced by the great Mike Gleason, the voice of the Big East for many years.
Okay, well, you know what? That could make a lot of sense, I think. I at first I was like, well, Greg's making some comments, they might not show out, but I'm like, if they're playing like a D2 foe here like that, I don't know what kind of universe we're living in, but that might be a bit of a blow up. But if we're talking, a little regional, a D1 kind of matchup, I can get behind that for sure.
Yeah, even then, just putting the HBCUs like Alabama A&M, Alabama State, like, as much as I hate to say it, people love when people associate or think of HBCU football, they think of the bands. which is wrong or not, because you got guys balling out like Tariq Cohen of the Bears, Doug Williams. I mean,
All
I
right,
know
but
it's
let
like
me
long
let me
past.
pose you this question: Who's a bigger baller, Tariq Cohen or Nick Cannon?
Tariq Cohen, man. Has Nick Cannon made a Pro Bowl?
Has Tariq Cohen made a movie called Drumline?
I'm sure he could.
You think he could? You think he could give you the performance of a lifetime?
I
I don't
think
know.
he could.
I don't know.
All right, why not just tag Tariq Cohen in?
Tag Nick Cannon too while you're at it.
Oh, okay.
We'll get
Okay.
them. We'll get them on the podcast, and we're gonna have a debate. We're gonna say Tariq Cohen or Nick Cannon. Who is the bigger advocate for HBCUs? I'm just saying.
Okay. I doubt we can make that happen, but we got to shoot big. I mean, Greg, like, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think playing HBCU would be something that's good for the program's exposure? You, as a former trumpet player, is that something that you would look forward to watching a HBCU band in action?
Yeah, I mean, the band here is quite small, but I think that'd be great. You know, the program doesn't have a lot of exposure out there, and so to play an HBCU and get that experience, especially what we're talking about, that'd be definitely a unique experience. I think many would love to see.
How does like the travel rules work? Like, say there's an away game, because I know, you know, I remember Greg and I think I don't you guys went to Hawaii to like for like an away game, and it was like you guys went with like you know, with the Air Force, like they kind of flew you out there on that plane or whatever. Like, how does that work? Like, how does the traveling policy work? Like, would people like be able to travel like to this game like officially? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Most time for any like away game, you know, they'll try to have a small contingent of cadets go to support. Most time that's extra space that's going to be on the military C-17 going out there. So I mean, going to Hawaii, they brought 150 cadets that did like a lot of different competitions for different teams out there as well. So I mean, going to West Point when I traveled 2 years ago and got to see Omar up there, we paid to go on our own, you know, fly on our own, but still we got approval to go out to the game. So
Got it.
something like this, you know, if it was a little closer, I could definitely see them trying to get a lot of cadets out there. But you know, going out to Alabama, maybe a few amount of cadets. You know, if we're going to be playing an HBCU, it definitely be trying to get as many teams as possible and club teams from here out there to engage. And you know, how many different ways can we compete? Can we engage with the university in the area? So you know, if it was something big, they definitely try to bring people out there that can compete, you know, different sport teams and clubs and then also go to the game at the end of the whole trip to experience it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point too. I think in terms of recruiting as well, just like recruiting, not just for the academy, but for the Air Force itself. Because I will say this, I mean, the Air Force and the Navy, I mean, they are, it's much more enticing, you know, to high schoolers. I mean, in terms of careers, like it's much more technology intensive. And I mean, I like where I'm at the Army, but I mean, I just can't deny that fact. So, you know, who says like, you know, bring out some, you know, recruiters out there and no corny gimmicky stuff like you know, pull-ups at lunch like we used to have at our high school like with
Well,
the
you
Marines.
don't want the little rock wall from the National Guard there to climb the pull-up competition?
No, yeah, none of that gimmicky stuff. But I mean, just like actually like make it a good experience for the fans and sort of yeah, just for like more recruiting because the military should have the makeup of I mean of our country, and that means, you know, more diversity. So I see nothing but opportunities here, plus an opportunity to play in a very historic venue, probably one of the most iconic venues in the South. And I know it sounds like kind of a hot take, but the Crampton Bowl out of Montgomery opened in 1924, hosted a couple minor league teams. What other venues today can say that they hosted minor league baseball? Not many. You probably
Isotope
count it on one
Stadium.
hand. Which stadium?
Isotope Stadium.
It's not a college stadium.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about venues that host minor league stadium. I was like, Omar, that's like every minor league stadium. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but that makes more sense.
But yeah, no, we're talking about the Crampton Bowl here. For a number of years, the Blue Gray Classic, an all-star game on Christmas Day that had greats like Jerry Rice play and make a name for themselves before the draft. Even today, it's only a couple of games. No one plays there. Actually, like even then with history, you can talk at the Turkey Day Classic, probably the Rose Bowl of HBCU classics between Alabama State and Tuskegee. It was one of the first ones, if not the first HBCU classic. Played a number of years there at the Crampton Bowl. And while Alabama State moved out, there's not many games there, but every single one of those games are high impact games, high impact moments. And I know I'm starting to sound like Max Kellerman here. Maybe that's a point, but I mean, it's no coincidence. I think it's no coincidence that every year the Camellia Bowls happened in Montgomery in the Crampton Bowl. It's been a one-score game with iconic finishes, and even this year on Christmas Day, that was must-watch TV. I mean, I was with the family in the living room unwrapping gifts, but you had Marshall and Buffalo, two of the best Group of 5 teams, and it was a neck-and-neck game to the finish. Like, that's must-watch TV and really shows how iconic the Crampton Bowl is. And not to mention Alabama and Auburn have played a number of games there, in the 20s and the 50s. But to become a national brand like they are, you have to become a regional brand first, and that means controlling your domain in the state. And for them to, travel Montgomery to the Crampton Bowl, play those games, it did a lot for their brand. So I'm saying it right here. The Crampton Bowl is one of the most important venues in college football. If I have a game against the Martians, they got the death beam pointing at the earth, and they told me to place it. They told me to play a game at one neutral site. I want the Crampton Bowl.
I was about to say, I was like, Omar, can we get your best Max Kellerman impression right there? But you were one step ahead of me. But I will say, on your point, you mentioned, Marshall and Buffalo, you mentioned 2 Group of 5 teams, but let's not diminish any way the season that they had. Like, those were 2. Marshall was like top 15 at one point. Buffalo finished, I think, top 25. Like, those are 2 top teams in the country, and they're playing at the Crampton Bowl with that memorable Christmas Day game. You just can't take away from that. Like, just for everyone, like, I don't care if you're watching this 10 years in the future, do not be disillusioned. That is like a matchup between any other Power 5 top 25 teams. Like, those 2 teams could have played on the field with just about anyone.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree. And I think that's a good segue. I think we've beaten this point to death about the Crampton Bowl. But on our point with Air Force in the past, like, Troy Calhoun has been an opponent of neutral site games. And for those of you that are new to Air Force football, he's been their coach since 2007, played quarterback there, was the offensive coordinator for the Texans, and then he was hired by Air Force. So it shows his versatility. And yeah, so he's been an opponent of neutral site games. In 2013, Notre Dame visited the Air Force Academy for the first time in a long time, and they're gonna move the game to the Broncos Stadium, and that would have netted the Academy about $3.6 million. But Calhoun kind of threw a hissy fit. I don't want to use charged language, but he was against the idea. And the Air Force Academy only gained $2 million in revenue from that game against Notre Dame when they could have made 3.6, like I said before. He had some charged language when the Air Force Academy moved a game against New Mexico, a home game, to the Cotton Bowl, the venerable Cotton Bowl in Dallas. And we haven't heard his comments about the Commanders Classic in 2021 this year and the next year, but I'd assume that the sentiments haven't changed. So, Greg, I want to ask you, like, do you think Troy Calhoun's justified in his opinions toward moving home games to neutral sites, or?
So I think first to understand Calhoun, you need to know that he's a grad. He played football here. Football was his life as a cadet, and then his first year as a lieutenant, he was also, he stayed here to help. So, his career started with coaching and helping the football team. I think he wants to have the experiences here. Whether that's it's easier on the program, whether that's more enjoyable for the players. It's interesting to see, kind of what his motives are. I think going to the Commanders Classic, that'll be this November. If we want to say it's a neutral site, but I don't think it's that neutral. I think there's a lot more of those Army forts around there. You're going to have so many graduates from West Point around there they're going to drive your 6-8 hours to go to this match, and so it's very interesting that another one of these key games is going to this neutral site, but I don't think it's neutral anymore when it was supposed to be at the Air Force Academy this next year. So should he have fought that, or is this good for the program to branch out and have ballpark football, right?
Can't hate ballpark football, but I mean, to counterpoint to, I mean, like Notre Dame, maybe that would have been a home game. I mean, that definitely would have been a home game in Denver in 2013. The New Mexico game definitely was, because New Mexico, I mean, doesn't really have much of a following beyond the state's borders. But even then, like, I mean, that's fertile recruiting ground out in Texas that Air Force hasn't had access to very, very much since TCU left the Mountain West in 2011 or in 2012. And I think beyond the point with the fans, I mean, he's got, I think, a leg up on a lot of Mountain West schools that wouldn't be going to Texas for road games there. But again, like keep in mind that I don't think Troy Calhoun said anything because he usually he is quite the interview. Just looking at it, I know a lot of Navy fans crap on him, especially with the recent turnback events, which maybe you can shed some light on, like no leaks, but shed some light on some of the turnbacks happening in the Air Force Football Academy. But yeah, like I mean, Calhoun is a very polarizing character in Service Academy football.
You know, I will say, Greg, Omar said no leaks, but I would be happy to break some news right here on our podcast if you would so desire. Just keep that in mind.
When this podcast blows up, I'm trying to graduate in May, so I'm going to have to go with no leaks. I think, first off, the turnback point is interesting, especially with the pandemic this fall and the potential for the sports not to go into the spring. A lot of these players that want to make the most of their 4 years playing at the college level, they wanted to have a season. And so, they got approved to take a semester off, which would mean they'd have to spend another semester here. So, they'd graduate in December of their appropriate year. I know all the academies kind of had some sort of experience with that. I think the most players came out of the Air Force Academy to take that semester off. So will this pay out in, 1 or 2 years when a lot of these players get that extra time to be here? It'll be very interesting, but I know it's hard on the team for the few games that we had this season to have so many of those key players. Someone who was only on the practice squad was now starting. It was good experience for a lot of those younger players that hung in there. Did West Point have many that went on turn back?
No, I don't think that was a choice really. Like it's been implied with Air Force, and I'm not trying to use any charge language or play the good guy here. It just seems like kind of strange. But no, like we haven't really had many people, I guess, voluntarily take a turn back. Now we did have the math incident that's very known nationally, which I won't say anything further since I'm 2 classes removed from that, like 2 years removed from all those people involved. But that's about as far as I guess that goes.
The math incident.
Yeah, big cheating scandal with about 100 cadets, which I will go no further.
Got it.
Yeah, it's not like I know that much anyway.
I know you're not going to go any further, but can you provide a little clarification in terms of like who it was? Like, can you say any names?
I won't say names, but there was someone in my squad.
Can you confirm or deny that you were involved in it?
I can't. I didn't even take the class. Like those were all like freshmen last year.
I mean, so you say math incident, but I think every service academy had some sort of incident with the sending cadets home in March and online school and not ready for it. Every school had struggles with cadets cheating. So maybe not so much focus on the teams if you're implying that, but
I'm not implying. Yeah, I'm not implying
okay.
that. Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
saying.
To be clear,
like,
he's implying nothing.
academy-wide.
He's implying nothing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm like that old party in the 19th century, the know nothings. I know nothing. Just kidding. That was very that party very polarizing, very kind of racist too. And I want no party with them.
Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. But
I think we should throw in the disclaimer that you normally do throw in to our podcast. Your views do not reflect the views of the Academy, West Point. So
yeah, what Marshall said.
Known. Just making sure that's known for everyone. Mine, however, I am a contracted agent of West Point. They're allowing me to discern opinions based. I'm just kidding. My opinions also do not count.
Yeah, I mean, back on your point though, Greg, about the game being like a home game, I think Air Force could benefit from, I guess, doing what Army does, moving games to Texas, because I think Army plays in Texas every single year, because like especially like they played in San Antonio like 2 years in a row. Of course, Fort Hood's like an hour away. They won't play the University of Texas. I mean, they should, because Austin's about an hour away from Fort Hood. They don't play Baylor. I mean, but it's beyond the point. I know you said that
I thought West Point just contracts games out to these weaker schools to rack up easy wins.
No.
I mean, to be fair, I'm looking at the Air Force schedule for next season, and number 1, they're playing Lafayette. Game 4, they're playing FAU. So let's not pretend like it doesn't go both ways.
Man,
Hey,
FAU's no slouch. You know this, Marshall. You know you're the biggest Lane Kiffin fan. You know FAU's not a
Ever
slouch.
since he left, all right, they have taken a nosedive down. They should
about
have
Willie
made that
Taggart?
man.
You have stooped for Willie Taggart in the past, man. Don't even play that.
All right, Willie's my boy.
I like Willie, man. Yeah, but
That's a
I mean,
good guy right there. That's a good guy. I take back
he is a
everything
good
I
guy.
said about FAU. I take it back. I take it back.
But yeah, like you said that, like we were talking beforehand about the post that Air Force has in Florida, and again another rich like recruiting ground. Like why not get a team from Florida, like a FAU, USF or UCF to play out of like a big stadium like the Citrus Bowl. The Citrus Bowl loves hosting neutral site games. To sort of get like that recruiting experience and some of the old grads and even like Air Force enlistees. I mean, I feel like they can provide a good boost, but do you think like the distance might be a hurdle, or the giving up one home game in general might be a hurdle? Like, because I'm sure cadets would be happy to not go to a home game if it meant either a free weekend or a trip to Florida. Like that's how it is at West Point.
yeah. I'll say this year when the games were optional, you saw 300 cadets out there when you're used to 3,500. So, if cadets could get a trip out of it for the weekend, I think they could get a lot of people out there. You bring up a good point about, recruiting, whether we're looking at Florida or going back to Texas. There's so many versatile and, highly ranked high school programs there with their starred, athletes, the juniors and seniors. And so the recruiting, whether it's for sports or just academy awareness, I think you bring up a good point, about West Point going back to Texas every year. Something I didn't think about is the bigger picture. So the exposure is absolutely there. And if it's televised, no longer at 9 p.m. at night, and it's an earlier game that more people can watch, it'll be something to add to the program and to what the academy has.
I do want to throw out. We're talking about the potential bases around some of those games. You threw out there Air Force Dodge and UT. But I will say Austin, Bergstrom Air Force Base right there in Austin. Let's not forget.
Probably, I don't think that's a really big one. We're looking at those big hitters. Florida definitely has McAdill, it has Eglin, it has Hurlburt. So Florida would probably be way better than Texas. Texas has.
Look, I was just making sure we didn't forget any. Okay.
Okay. Just because you're on Google Maps doesn't mean you know everything.
Hey, you want me to share my screen with you? I did nothing. I have nothing up here. That's all knowledge off the dome right there. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
You want me to share a screen with you right now? Look at this.
No, I'm good. I don't want to know what's on your tabs.
To be fair, I have 100 tabs open right now. So.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
pinky swear. All right. How about that?
Yeah, it's binding. It's a binding agreement right there. I mean, yeah, but I mean, to Marshall and your point, Greg, too, like if cadets make a trip out of it, like that's huge. I honestly think cadets get like thrown out the window when it comes to scheduling future games. Like, to be honest, like especially for a football fan like me, I just did not want to sit through 3 hours of Army Colgate. I love the Patriot League, but when Notre Dame's playing in the city on that very same weekend, there are very many other places that I would rather be than watching Army Colgate. But yeah, no, I think it's all about increasing like the profile too. And some of the programs like we mentioned before, like USF, UCF, like there are very few Twitter beefs that are as really virulent as the Mountain West versus American Twitter beef. I mean, there's American versus the rest of UConn. Like that's a very like hot Twitter beef.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say. I was going to say, well, what about UConn versus everyone? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's sick of UConn's crap, but like, I mean, everyone hates, well, not everyone, but the Mountain West hates the American because they're just not them right now. I mean, it's just Boise State and everyone else. Like, you'll have Air Force rip a, nice 11-win season, but like no one really notices because, I mean, it's all about Boise State. So why not play do a home and home and play, UCF, USF, like play those schools in their backyard and then, show them the Mountain West is still, strong. So
I can't believe you just disrespected Nick Starkel like that after all you rode for him for this season. You really just threw him under the bus.
Hey, nothing but love for Nick Starkel. Nothing but love for. He's a fellow Justin Bieber fan. I will say that. He is. He's a huge Justin Bieber fan.
Well, okay, but what does that? One, what does that have to do with anything? And two, I never knew you were such a big Justin Bieber fan.
Hey, Purpose. I've been listening to Purpose lately. It's a good album.
Omar, can you do a little rendition for us?
No.
Can you
No.
you have the keyboard right there?
I can't play it. No, it's I think my roommate would appreciate if I didn't.
Got it.
But yeah, no, I love Starkle still. But I'm just saying, like San Jose State didn't enter the polls until late. Who was in the polls and was in the top 10 almost all year? Cincinnati.
Okay, well, let's not sit here and try and debate whether the polls are accurate in their representation of teams. Like, where did San Jose State show up on like a computerized ranking, huh? Do we have those numbers?
Oh, you want me to pull the Sagarin? I'll pull the Sagarin.
Pull it.
You want it? I'm gonna give it to you right now.
I want to see it. Give it to me.
All right, let me get the Sagarin.
I want it right now. Faster.
All right, I'm gonna pull the Sagarin.
Faster.
You know what? Chill out, man. This Academy Wi-Fi, it's notably slow. It's notably slow here. But okay, fine. With the Sagarin, let's see. So you had Cincinnati at 16, San Jose State at 64. We're talking about the two conference champs here. And these are your computers, Marshall. Aren't these your computers?
Look, that's Sagarin's computer. That's not my computer, all right?
It's still a computer. Boise State was at 36.
Look, the brain is really just a computer. Like, the computers can be wrong, okay? That's not what we're arguing about here, okay?
I'm pretty sure Tulsa might have ranked above them too.
Wow.
Tulsa at 57.
That's just disrespectful. Like, I don't know any other way to say it.
Should I just keep going? Central
No,
Florida,
shouldn't.
UCF.
What you should
35.
do is close that and never open it again.
I mean, you wanted me to pull it up so quick. I pulled it up quick, and that's what I did.
You know what? I wish your Wi-Fi was like slower at this point, just so we never even had to hear that. But
Wanted
it's
it,
literally
Marshall.
like the page. I can share my screen like right now. Like the page that the Sagarin's on. It's like got like the classic computer script.
what I wanted Omar to do is pull it up and then look at it and then lie to me and say, "Oh, San Jose State, number 9 in the Sagarin."
No.
Hey, math incident. We're not trying to have a podcast incident. We can't have Omar lying.
Yeah, I can't have me lying. Yeah, I gotta graduate.
Omar, it's not a lie. You're just whispering me sweet little nothings in my ear.
Okay, that's not how it is. Hey, is Marshall? I think Marshall might be the sus host of this podcast. I'm not sus.
Among us.
We're wearing
Among us?
matching jerseys, Omar.
The guy wearing the Celtic Football Club jersey is sus.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, even then, I'll just throw in like one last, I guess, maybe
Okay.
like neutral site, but not even that, I guess. Like, I think I would love to see an Air Force home and home against Memphis, because as I went to the Liberty Bowl, reading the program and noticed Air Force's 4 straight Liberty Bowl appearances, including I think 1990, where they came in 6-5. They won the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, and that's how they got into the Liberty Bowl. And they're playing against number 24 Ohio State. I mean, Ohio, like, people probably thought Ohio State was going to run circles around Air Force, but Air Force wins, I think, 20-11. You know, an iconic game in Liberty Bowl's history. Like, why not have Air Force put? Jeez, my speaker. Okay, interesting. Sorry, my speaker kind of malfunctioned.
No, it was coming through.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
did,
well,
like, had a brief, like a little delay, but you're good.
Move back. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, just have have Air Force. I don't know why these. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. So have Air Force play against Memphis, one of the best programs in the group of 5, and really again improve the Mountain West profile in the American. So just a little final thought on that note.
I got a question, Omar. How much longer do you think Troy Calhoun has left?
Sorry, geez. My speakers are acting like really stupid right now.
Can you hear me?
For the viewers out there, if you're just listening to the audio of this, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Omar seems to have thrown his computer off a bridge. He's trying to recover
Okay,
it.
I'm good now. I'm good now. I'm good now.
All right,
Yeah,
the
what I
question
miss?
was, how much longer does Troy Calhoun have left, do you think?
I think he bought himself a great amount of goodwill by going 11-2 and beating Air Force and narrowly losing to probably like the best Navy team since, might be a hot take, but since the Roger Staubach days. Honestly, like I know it's a hot take, but the only teams in competition for like the best Navy team since 63 is like the 2015 team. And maybe the 81 team that went to the Liberty Bowl, or maybe the 96 team that went to the Aloha Bowl. But I'd take both those teams on a neutral field against those schools. But Calhoun bought himself some goodwill in 2019. 2020, everyone's, unless you were absolutely like crap, like UMass or Louisiana Monroe, then you deserve like pretty much an excuse year. Or unless you're Les Miles and you're just straight up a creep. Everyone deserves new breaking news.
Dude, I do want to point out I gave a lot of Les Miles support out at Kansas over the course of our podcast. I would like to formally retract all of that. I denounced Les Miles. Les Miles sounds like a disgusting character following the reports that have came out this week. Just making that clear, making that incredibly clear.
But I'd say 2 years because Air Force has this trend. I mean, on Marshall's note, I'm if I ever gave any support to Les Miles, I'd like to renounce that. But Air Force lately in this decade has had a trend of falling like low for a couple years, and they come back with like a spectacular year, and then they fall low again. So it's really hard to tell. Like, I mean, I think Troy Calhoun's got a spot until he retires, but it seems like he's not happy. But no one wants Troy Calhoun because no one wants to run the triple option. It's a really weird spot to be in.
Omar, who's your top?
I think. What was that?
Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
I was going to quickly say, I think the 2-year point is an important thing to look at. This next season, it's everyone come back off this pandemic. If we have, the regular seasons back, it'll be important to see the longevity of these programs instead of just how volatile it is maybe after one season. So, looking at 2 years after the program, I think that'll be important.
I was just going to say, Omar, give me your top Service Academy quarterback that's not named Keenan Reynolds or Roger Staubach.
Okay, like ever? Like what time period we going?
Just give me any. Give me one.
Okay, not named Roger Staubach or Keenan Reynolds. So I'd go. Shoot, dang, way to put me on the spot like that. Malcolm Perry. Malcolm Perry is like the gold standard.
Ready? We're gonna do final question here. Screw, marry, kill. Roger Staubach, Keenan Reynolds, Malcolm Perry.
All right, I gotta marry Roger Staubach because that's the GOAT in terms of academy quarterbacks. I mean, he's the GOAT. Like I gotta screw. I gotta marry Roger Staubach because that man won 2 Super Bowls, right? With the Cowboys too. I mean, very versatile, very very godly man as well. Let's see, screw probably like Malcolm Perry because Malcolm Perry like Army beat Malcolm Perry twice in his career. But he just provides like a different level, and this might be a hot take, but Keenan Reynolds I'd have to kill despite having the record. If you look at like a lot, like I'm not taking anything away from him, but the scheme was tailored to him like to have that many touchdowns because like first and goal from the 2-yard line, they had some big fullbacks during Reynolds' career. They had a guy, Chris Swain, 250 pounds. They had like 250-pound fullbacks in the backfield during Keenan Reynolds' senior year. But first and goal from the 2, it's not going to those fullbacks, even though it should. It's going to Keenan Reynolds every single time. And I mean, that scheme was just like tailored to him scoring touchdowns. Okay. So that's who I'd have to kill.
All right, and we're gonna throw one here for Greg, a little more relatable for his knowledge set. Let's do Greg. You're gonna screw, marry, kill branches of the military. We got Air Force, we got Army, and let's go Navy. We'll go Navy. Keep it big 3.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to say marry the Air Force. If we're wanting a healthy marriage, that's the move there. The assignments and the requirement. I'm gonna screw the Army. Yeah. I got some appreciation for them. Consider them myself, and then kill the Navy. Some weird people.
Damn, son. Keep in mind. Let's keep in mind. Disclaimer: Greg Berry's comments do not represent that of the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, you're safe. All you have to do is say that, and you're safe. That's all.
It's like when your grandma posts on Facebook, "I do not consent to Facebook using any of my information."
Right. Well, yeah, that status makes it all good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now that we got those disclaimers, if anyone else has anything to say to close us out, this has been a good episode. We hope you tune in next time. Trying to get some guests lined up. Been left on red. I'm used to it though. But trying to get some guests lined up, and we're keeping our finger on the pulse of this FCS season. Should be a fun one. But until next time.
Well, one last comment. I do want to warn anyone that wants to leave Omar on red. If we're trying to schedule you on our podcast, we will. If you do not respond in a timely fashion, we will trash you. And keep in mind, we have a large listener base, and we will make you look very bad. Keep that in mind. Don't leave him on red. That's a threat. That's a direct threat. Okay.
Sounds like a turnoff to me. Sounds like you just killed us having guests for like the next month.
Like all I have to say is sometimes a psycho girlfriend has a point. Okay.
No. What?
Maybe that'll be the next podcast. Why Marshall attracts crazy women.
That is a question I have been wondering about myself. So
yeah. So while we pontificate upon that, we'll close as usual. Everyone take care of themselves in this time, and peace, love, and soul.